What's up, y'all? John Melton coming to you live, and I am excited, fired up, jacked up as usual. And I've got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Brian Carruthers. If you know Brian, let us know in the comments. This dude is a legend in the network marketing profession, and we're going to talk about wealth today. How many of you are excited about this conversation? Let me know in the comments. And the question for you is wealth eluding you? I love this. What you don't know about money is keeping you from building wealth. And I think a lot of us would agree that most of us probably didn't grow up learning about money and the principles of money. And, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And, I think a lot of times, especially if you start to make money for the first time, you don't know what to do with it. Like when I started making money 20 years ago in my early 20s, I was broke, busted, and disgusted. I get into the mortgage industry. In my first year, I made like 125,000. My second year, I made 250. I mean, I had money coming out of my ears. And it's funny because I was telling this story the other day on a podcast with Cedric Harris, how like I had all this money, and Brian, you'll appreciate this because you probably have similar stories too, right? I had all this cash, like $150,000. I remember looking at my bank account like every day, being like, holy shit, look at all this money. Like it's so much money. And then all the mortgage guys I knew, all the real estate professionals, like these guys are like buying these custom suits and they're going on vacations and they're buying fancy cars. And I'm like, no, I'm saving my money. I'm going to invest in real estate. I'm going to be a multimillionaire. And of course, that was around 2005, 6, 7. So I bought high, I sold low, I lost $1 million in real estate, and I ruined my credit. It was all a lovely experience. And all that cash was gone. And I remember saying afterwards, like, I should have just bought more suits, fancy cars, and gone on more vacations. So with that being said, I learned at a very young age all about money. And, it's great once you learn how to make it, but learning how to make it is just one game. Learning how to keep it, protect it, scale it, grow it, have your money making you money, that's the key. And I know for you, for those of you that don't know Brian, by the way, Brian has obviously been very, 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 very successful in network marketing. Been in the same company. How many years now, Brian? 2 decades?
25, yeah.
25 years in one company, one of the biggest, most successful leaders, earners in the history of network marketing, but he's also done really well with investing. Now, this is not going to be like us telling you to invest in these stocks or invest in this market and real estate. It's going to be more of a philosophy on how to build wealth. In fact, Brian has a book. Let me just pull it up real quick, like. This is a book that I would recommend for every single network marketer. Before we start getting into this conversation with Brian, this is something I want you to write down. Money Mindset, Wealth Building Roadmap for Network Marketers. So it's not just about money, and it's not just about building your network marketing business. It's really a combination of both topics of conversation. He goes into mindset, strategy, IPAs, liabilities versus assets, pay yourself first, a lot of the most important money-making principles. So, Brian, excited to have you on, brother.
Glad to be here. And by the way, I know that, because I come from the network marketing space, I titled the book that is a wealth building roadmap for network marketers, just to kind of be niche-like, but it's for everybody. I mean, I've got many, many people that have nothing to do with, they don't want anything to do with network marketing,
right?
But they want everything to do with figuring out how to get on the other side of money because they're tired of scrambling and struggling constantly. So.
Well, there was something I heard at a seminar years ago, and it stuck with me. It was Danny Johnson. She said, there are a lot of smart people, very, very smart people out there, and they spend all their time, all day, every day, trying to figure out how to get your dumb money. I was like, damn, that's so true. Because once you start making it, you're like, what do I do with it? And plus you just start spending it. Like it's never going to slow down. Like business is just going to grow forever. You're making 10 grand a month. You're spending 9 grand a month. Like all of that is just, the wrong mentality because this isn't a job. It's a business. It's profits versus wages. Anyway, can you talk a little bit about money? Can you talk about some of your philosophies? Because I know you're somebody that a lot of people look up to. Same company for 25 years, multiple 7-figure earner over the last, 2+ decades, but also you're still in the trenches like me. You're still recruiting like me. Like you're out there leading by example, doing the things, and then creating multiple income streams, but using your primary business to then set up those other income streams, taking the profits from your business and investing into assets. So I would love to hear some of your philosophies and, of course, just incorporating your story and all that, because I think that'll be really inspiring for people.
Yeah, sure. Well, look, and I don't want today to be another regurgitation of the same stuff,
Yeah.
because people's eyes glaze over when they hear the same stuff, pay yourself first and all this kind. So, maybe I can say something in a way today that would be a little different, and maybe be one of those light bulb moments where like the light bulb finally goes on and it's like, oh man, I wasn't really thinking like that. So let's attack the thinking first.
Mm-hmm.
People typically have been raised in households that were people who were servicing debt. Like, so if you make $6,000 a month and your cost of living with all your expenses is 5,000, you make the 6, you pay the 5, and you have 1,000 left over, so you get to go spend it and blow it. It's extra money, and that's how most people think. Anything left over is leftovers, is extra. I'm allowed to pamper myself, treat myself, blow it on me, others, whatever. And that's why most people will never, ever, ever get ahead in life. They will never get on the winning side of the game of money. So instead, if you have a money mindset or a wealth building mindset, if you make the 6, the 5 have to get paid for sure. But the $1,000 that remains is not leftover. That was the only money that you truly cared about in the first place. Why did you care about the 5,000 that belongs already to somebody else that's committed to? You should be caring all about the $1,000.
Right.
And that $1,000, what do you do with it? So you have to have a plan. Plan your work your plan your wealth building, and work your plan. So, the simple formula everybody's already heard before, most people don't practice, is give away 10%. Now, if you're a person of faith, tithe it, give it to God. And I'm new in the last year in my personal walk in my faith. So what I now believe and I now understand that I never understood in my life, I always thought my money was my money. I now understand it was never my money. It's all God's, and giving him back 10%. You guys hear that? I'm giving him back 10%. He's letting me keep 90. So if I give him my first fruits with that 10%, he can bless my other 90 to go out there and do big things with it. So if you give away 10% or give back 10%, and then if you pay yourself 10%, which means putting it into a separate wealth building account, I would say if we surveyed everybody watching right now, how many of you all have a separate wealth building account that is not your operating account that you live on, you pay your bills out of, and so forth? I would say probably half of the people only have one bank account. They don't have a second bank account that is for wealth building that you're going to be investing out of.
Do you have one you would recommend?
No. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the money's going to park there for a little bit. I mean, nowadays you're getting roughly 5% interest. So just go shop around and get an interest, bearing account that's going to be roughly 5% in the day and age that we're in right now in November 2023. But it's going to stay there until the opportunities arise where you say, hey, this is a good entry point to an investment, whether it be a stock or a home or whatever. But then you live off the other 80. And a lot of people, say, well, I'm already struggling living off 100, so I can't afford to do that 10% and 10%. And my answer to that is, if you're struggling living off 100%, you're going to be struggling just the same living off of 80%. But at least you're giving to God and you're giving to yourself and you're building a future for yourself. Mm-hmm. I mean, who's more important to you? The people you owe money to, or you and your family? Mm. I hope you say you and your family. And I'm not saying that the people that you owe money to are not important. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm not a believer. I don't want, this is going to rub some people the wrong way, and I don't mean it in a malicious way. I'm not a believer in bankruptcy. I'm not a believer in like credit repair where your credit score is bad because you stiffed a bunch of people. And now you go get a credit repair agency to bump your credit score up again so you can fake people out and borrow more money that you might not, based on your track record, repay again. It's like pay your debts. I'm telling you, don't avoid paying your debts, but just pay yourself first and then put them second in line is all.
Right.
So that's a little, you can turn me on and I'm going to run with this, but I'm going to go back even before this. The problem I feel, I've worked with so many people. I mean, tens of thousands of people. I'm very holistic in my approach and what I do. Mm-hmm. I don't just teach people how to sell a product and make money off of a compensation plan. I want it to be a holistic mentor in somebody's life. Like, here's how to make new money. Here's how to save that money. Here's how to pay the least amount of taxes. Here's how to invest that money properly so that you're growing your net worth. And one day you can retire and live happily ever after. But what I find is most people have an adverse relationship with money that they are not even aware of.
Yep.
They've been conditioned and programmed their whole lives that that money is the root of all evil, or the love of money is the root of all evil, or however they receive that and own that.
It's like rich people are greedy, rich people. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Or that money's dirty.
Yeah.
Like, money is dirty. Like, you shouldn't want money. It's dirty. Like, I'm a germaphobe, first of all. So when I've got like bills, like I'll show you real quick. So when I've got money, I tend to look for the dirtiest ones first. See how dirty this one is? Nasty. I want to get rid of my dirty bills, and I keep the really crisp bills. Anybody else like that? You want to get rid of your dirty money. You want to keep your clean money.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind carrying around some bills in my pocket when they're like brand new, fresh off the press.
Yeah.
The dirty ones that people went to the bathroom and then they touched their money, and it's like, ooh, it's gross. So, but here's the problem. Most people look at money, think about money, that it's all dirty. Like, it's a bad thing to want more of it. It's a taboo subject to talk about. So if you've got this adverse mindset or relationship with money, no wonder you repel it. You're not even attracting it to you to figure out what to do with it in the first place. You're repelling it because deep down inside, on a subconscious level, you don't like money. So I would encourage you to start liking money. Matter of fact, in my book, I go so far as to say, I love money, but hear what I'm saying. I love money for what it can do. I don't idolatrize. It's not idolatry. Money is not a carved image of something that I worship. But I do love the fact that if something happened, let me ask you in a question. If for the viewers right now, if you had a family member who got really sick and needed to go to Mexico or to Europe, to Germany for a life-saving treatment, and it was going to cost 80 grand, wouldn't you love to say, hey, the answer is not no. Here's a check. We're going to get you there. Exactly. Wouldn't you love that? Wouldn't you love to go to church and say, you know what? I really want to give to this mission project that they're struggling and figuring out how they're going to raise the money to go help these orphans in Guatemala. How would you love to go to your pastor on Sunday afternoon and say, hey, look, I was really moved today. Here's a check for 20 grand. The mission is on. Like, you love that. So if you love that, then you love the means. Like, allow yourself to attach goodness to the idea of money for what you're going to do good for others in the world with it. And now you'll start attracting versus repelling it. So if you start attracting versus repelling, you start understanding what wealth building actually is. Like, you got to go from servicing debt to being somebody that wants to build wealth. And I'm sure most people that follow you are in our space, they're familiar with Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Cash Flow Quadrant. And in the Cash Flow Quadrant, he talks about the E, the S, the B, and the I. Employees, self-employed, big business owner with leverage, and then investor. Well, most people go from the E to the S. Like, I want to be self-employed. And some people think, oh, I got into network marketing, so I'm in the B quadrant. No, you're not. You're still in the S quadrant if you're just a network marketer with no team. Now, if you have a team that's generating passive overrides to you, now you're in the B quadrant. And then once you're a B quadrant person with a cash flow, like the Meltons and like so many thousands and heck millions of network marketers that have cash flow coming in from their downlines, that now you can put that money towards the I quadrant to become an investor.
Yes.
So the question is, where do you want to live? Are you living in the E quadrant? Are you living in the S quadrant? Are you living in the B quadrant? Today's talk is, let's get you to live in the I quadrant. I would have 1 foot in the B quadrant and I would have 1 foot in the I quadrant. That's the line I straddle.
Yeah, I love that. Such a great mindset to have. And it's funny because that was one of the first books that, well, for those of us who've been in the profession for a very long time, that was one of the first books that was recommended. And it was like, wow, I'm in the B quadrant. If I build a freaking team, let's get some freaking leverage. Yeah. And then you have so many people these days, they're so excited about the whole, like, I want to be an influencer and I want to sell products and I want to be an affiliate marketer. I want to have all, they'll be like the trench coat mafia. Like, I've got I got this and I've got that service. And it's like, no, you need to focus on one thing and you need to get good at promoting that one thing. And you want to get so good at it that you're able to mentor people all over the world to, like you said, have that overriding residual income. That's the key to success. The S quadrant is nice. But, Eric was talking about this on one of our Zooms recently. And it's like, yeah, it's a job. You getting really good at selling stuff to your social network, that's cool. Great job. But that's an S quadrant activity. That's a self-employed. You own a business that owns you. If you don't exchange time, you don't get no dollars. If you're not posting, you're probably not earning any monies. So the key to success is leverage and mentoring others, building a sales force, having that override. And then, like you said, getting in the I quadrant. That's my favorite topic of conversation. There's nothing better than building true passive income. But I'm sure you would agree with this, Brian. There's, again, a lot of smart people trying to get you dumb money. And I paid a lot of stupid tax over the years, investing into things that were high risk. I didn't think they were high risk at the time. But looking back, I'm like, God, that was stupid. So how do you help people outside of, obviously, they need to get their hands on your book and actually read your book, study your book. But what do you recommend to help people get into some smarter investments that don't have the high risk of, like, I heard a quote just recently, and I know you've heard this quote a million times, but when I heard it, I don't know, it's just the way Tony Robbins said it. It just resonated. He said, the return of your capital is more important than the return on your capital. So the return of your capital, of your initial investment, that return of the initial capital you put in investment is way more important than the returns you get on the capital. So anyway, I thought that was
great. I mean, the golden rule is don't lose money.
Yeah.
You can get a 5% return or a 500% return. Both are good. One's better, but just don't lose your capital for sure.
Yeah.
And so, look, I think so that we're not just boring people with the same stuff. Here, let me just look. I think people need a coach to show up in their life that says things in a way that kind of snaps you. How do I say this? Stops you in your tracks. Like if your net worth, you guys that are listening, if your net worth is not growing month over month, year over year, you're not doing it right. You're just not. You're messing up. Like I wrote Money Mindset because I had a friend that was making $200,000 a year and he bought a Lamborghini. But you might say, well, I'm not that person, so I'm not messing. No. If your net worth is not growing month over month, you're still messing up.
You're not buying a Lambo, but you're buying Starbucks twice a day.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Look, if you want to, you have to decide that you're going to do it. Success is a decision followed by daily choices.
Yeah.
Success is a decision followed by daily choices. Or Jim Rohn and others have said, look, either you have self-discipline or the world will discipline you, but either way, you're going to get disciplined. So left to your own devices, you're going to mess up. You're not going to do what we're talking about here. That's why David Bach wrote a book called Automatic Millionaire. And he said, look, you're going to pay yourself first 10%. Well, guess what? He said, you got to make it automatic. Like when your paycheck comes from your company, it has to go right to the bank and the bank splits it 90 and 10 into your two bank accounts. So you don't have to make a conscious decision to do that each time. You got to find ways to make it automatic. Now, a lot of network marketing companies don't necessarily have that ability to send it out separately to you. But if you can set it up with your bank, great. If not, then you've got to be disciplined. Being disciplined means if you got a spouse, you guys are like on this together. Like you've got a pact that you're not going to break and you're not going to let each other down. You've got to have a coach that's willing to hold your feet to the fire. I don't want people on my team making money and then being just as broke at the end of the year. We wasted. First of all, didn't waste my time because the overrides I'm going to invest. But they wasted their time, and that sucks. But it's still
true, man. It's so sad because you see these people, they make more and they just spend more. They just broker on a higher level. It's like, okay, cool. So now instead of being behind on your Hyundai, you're behind on your Mercedes Benz, but you're still behind. Yeah, great point.
Look, at the end of the day, how do you lose weight? Well, you can either eat less or work out. So how do you lose weight twice as fast? Well, eat less and work out.
Both. Yeah.
How do you get wealthy? Either spend less or make more. How about spend less and make more? So we can help people with a business opportunity to make more, but we still have to spend less. Now, some people say, well, I don't want to shrink my lifestyle. Okay, then you better work your butt off to 3x, 5x your income.
Yeah.
If you want to maintain the lifestyle that's in many people's opinions overspending. For example, they say pay yourself 10% first. Well, it didn't take long before I was paying myself 20%, 30%, 40%. And now I live off of less than 10% of my income I spend.
Wow.
And I've been doing that for a long, long time. So my net worth is much larger than my cumulative lifetime earnings of my entire life. And it's by design. And now, like last year I gave $500,000 to my church during the holidays.
Wow.
Most people want to just make that much in a year. Well, how great will it be? And again, hear what I'm saying. How great will it be when your heart says you want to give and you just go give? But when you're struggling or you have not built your empire yet, then you can't do that. So I would, a couple of things I would share with everybody is open the wealth building account. Try to make it as automatic or as disciplined as you possibly can. Make sure you got buy-in from your spouse, maybe even buy-in from your family. Hey, we're going to tighten our purse strings. We're going to tighten our belts. We're going to get more disciplined. Have a family meeting with a budget. Go take a look at your credit card statements over the last 30 or 60 days and take a look at where the money's going.
Yeah.
Put it in categories. You mentioned Starbucks. I mean, how much money? Look, this right here is a $5.50 drink. For many, many years, I laughed at people who said, "Oh," I was like, "You're $5." They used to call it $5 because it was $5 for a drink. I'm like, "You're an idiot for going to for spending money in Starbucks." Well, guess what? I'm a rich idiot now, so I can afford to do it. But before I was rich, I wasn't going to go do that.
Amen.
I still don't fly first class. I've got friends that are on their own jets. I have friends of mine that fly private. They're first class. Once in a while, I'll treat my wife and I to a first class seat. But here's some principles that you're going to read in Money Mindset. If you decide it's worth $14 to go buy a book that can change your financial future forever. Most people are like,
I'd say that's a pretty good place to start with investing. Yeah.
Look, $14, and most people are either.
Can you hold it up again just so people can take a screenshot just in case?
Yeah. Look, most people are too cheap to buy it or too lazy to read it. That's just most people. But here's the thing: we can't change people. We can't change the norm. Like Jim Rohn always said, it's like, isn't that interesting? I can chastise somebody for not spending $14 to buy a book, or I can chastise them for buying the book and letting it sit on their shelf and collect dust and never even reading it. Yeah. But I don't need to chastise somebody. I would rather say, look, let's talk about what you want in your life, and if you want to get ahead, you want to be financially sound and free, and have So let me put it like this: create the buy-in from your family, right? Have a financial mentor that you're accountable to, that you share your goals with, like verbally, like outwardly, share your goals with somebody that can actually ask you once in a while, "Hey, how's it going? Show me your bank statement. Show me your net worth. Where are you at right now? Last year, your net worth was 18,000. What is it now?" If it didn't go up, you got to call that person on the carpet and be like, "Look, as your friend, I'm telling you, you're messing up." Well, I had this happen. Well, your rainy day fund is not the same as your wealth building account. Your rainy day fund comes out of your 80%, not out of your 10%. So, and then next thing, people say, "Well, what do I do with all my debt?" Well, a simple, easy one that I can tell everybody is an automatic. Get rid of your credit card debt. Your credit card debt right now, let's just call it roughly 20%. If you've got credit card debt that is revolving and going month after month, you are absolutely eating your wealth. You cannot get wealthy if you've got credit card debt. I have never, ever had credit card bills. Mine automatically pays right out of my bank account every month. So it always goes back to zero, and I never pay any interest on my credit card spend. I spend a lot of money on credit cards throughout the month, but I pay it off every month on time. So I don't pay any interest. So I use credit cards for convenience. I don't use it to borrow money to pay for things that I don't have money that I didn't have the money in the first place.
Yeah, we love American Express, but pay it off every month. So there's no interest, but you get so many perks by using it. So it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I think that's super important. And then, paying taxes, like most network marketers learn the hard way. They've never, they're used to having an employer taking taxes out automatically. So you have to learn what happens here as a 1099 independent, business owner, you've got to pay your own taxes. So, after a year of having an earnings history, the IRS expects you to pay quarterly estimated taxes.
Yeah.
So if your taxes are going to be $20,000 for the year, you've got to pay in $5,000 each quarter. And that way you keep yourself from having any kind of late payment penalties. And you also don't get a surprise next April with a $20,000 tax bill.
I want everybody to hear that. He's saying pay your taxes quarterly. That's what we've been doing for years as well. You almost have to, because if you don't do it, like Brian said, you're just going to get a big bill at the end of the year. And look, if you pay too much, it's not a big deal. If you end up paying too much, you can actually get that money back from the IRS. But it's absolutely imperative, especially when you start making more money, to pay quarterly. So, sorry.
And I always get a refund. I always overpay, and I'd rather do that. And frankly, I don't, a penalty that you have to pay to the IRS, that's like saying, punch me in the gut and let me pay you for it. It's like, don't give them your money and then give them more for a penalty. Don't surprise yourself with a tax bill at the next year that you didn't pay. I've got a lot of friends over the years, a lot of people in network marketing, that the IRS had to garnish their commissions from their network marketing company when they were earning money because they were behind on their taxes. Yeah. So just be disciplined, be prudent about it. So make sure you're doing that. And then as far as what do you do with the investments? And again, here's my disclaimer. I'm not a licensed broker dealer. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not licensed to be able to give advice on this. But in a conceptual way, what I would encourage people to do is look for safe things first. Build a safe foundation on things that are not high risk.
Yeah.
Something that's low risk. For example, the rule of 72. If you get 10% return on your money and you let that compound, so you don't take the 10% out, you let it build. So you got $100
a year, right?
Yeah. So you have $100 that you invest and you get 10%. Now you get 110. Let it ride. Don't pull the 10 off the table. Now you get 110. And that gets 10% return. So then the next year you got what? About $122. So at the end of the day, the rule of 72, every 7 years, if you have a 10% compounded return, you're doubling your money. So if you take a look at the S&P stock index over the last 50 years, it's averaged about 10%. So if you want to double your money every 7 years, if you put it into an S&P index fund where you've got no points, no load, like it's basically free to own it. Like you can go to I'll give you an example. I'm not telling you to go buy it, but go look at like the Vanguard VOO. It's like if you go to the stock market, any stock exchange, or platform like Schwab or, the different one. I used to be with Ameritrade and then TD Ameritrade, and it's kind of bounced around. But anyway, VOO, you can put your money in that and just let it ride and get the typical return. Now, if you buy high, like if you buy at the top of the market, like a couple of years ago it was, and then you decide, I'm going to sell it when there is a trough, you can lose money even in a safe investment. Mm-hmm. But if your time horizon is, hey, I'm 40 years old right now, I'm not planning on using this money until I'm 60 or 70, have a longer time horizon. I'm not a trader. I am Warren Buffett does much better than day traders. Mm-hmm. Warren Buffett is an investor.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm an investor. I might do a little bit of short-term stuff once in a while, but mostly, like I bought Apple. I bought Apple shares many years ago, not when it was brand new. It was already a massive, it was already the biggest company in the world when I was buying the shares, like back in the day of like iPhone 4, iPhone 5, iPhone 6, back then. And I've held. And people told me I was an idiot for having so much money in Apple. Now I've got 60,000 shares of Apple.
Damn.
So I've got almost $12 million of Apple shares. That will send
and also you can always, if you need the money, you can borrow against it.
You can sell calls against it if you want and make some income from it. So different things you can do. But my point is, do things that are safer. There's other things I've seen that I've personally got intrigued into where I invested money that is gone. And there's stocks I bought that went to zero. There's online trading platforms I put some money into that I can't even get my money out. So like There's high risk stuff. I wouldn't do that stuff unless you got a lot of money that you can just go gamble with.
Yeah.
But
you're okay with losing it. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So don't swing for the fences.
Yeah.
Get rich slow, guys. Get rich slow.
Which is better than get rich never.
Right. Yeah. 100%. So, another idea for you, whether it's a SEP IRA, some kind of a tax deferred investment, an IRA, I've got a defined benefit plan where you can actually pick how much you want your account to be worth at your retirement age. So at age 65, let's say you want $3 million. Well, you can set up a deferred benefit, a defined benefit plan where you put in, you have an administrator. The administrator is going to tell you how much money you can invest into that DB plan, tax-free. And so, I had years where I was putting 6 figures a year into my DB plan so that when I'm 65, I'm going to have the amount of money that I have designed, which is many millions of dollars. So there's things that you'll learn as you go. But the starting point is just keep it super simple. Take your first step.
I love that. One of the first things we did back in 2019 after we went to Tony Robbins' Business Mastery is we hired a fiduciary through creative planning. Now you do have to have a certain amount of like net worth already, a certain amount of like liquid to invest, but still that was a game changer for us. And just like having someone to sit down and like map out a retirement plan. Because before that, like we had money, we invested money, we had some things going on, but we didn't have like a real plan. And you said that in the beginning, like to sit down with a coach, an advisor, a fiduciary, somebody where you can map out a plan, because then you're actually more motivated to go make money. You're more motivated to build your empire, to build your team, to create leverage, because now you have a plan in place to give back, to, pay yourself first, to create those other income streams through the I quadrant of investing.
Well, so hold up, John. What you just said, I know people miss that.
Yeah.
You just said something that was so brilliant. It seemed so elementary. I've got to really unpack this. John just said, if you have a plan, you will then be motivated to go out there and build your business bigger and faster.
Yeah.
Here's the challenge. Here's what people wrestle with. And I don't think anybody on here has ever heard this said this way. If you've been an entrepreneur for several years, which many of you, I bet, have been, and you've been working your butt off all year, every year, and you still don't have wealth to show for it. Subconsciously, you're telling yourself, that little person on your shoulder is like, why do I want to keep working so hard if I'm not getting anywhere? The business the hard work was paying off. You just weren't doing the right thing with the money when it came in, because you didn't have a plan for when it came in. If you have a plan for when it comes in, this is what John just said, just in different words. If you have a plan and the plan works, you're going to be 10 times more motivated to go out there and crush your business.
Yep.
So here's another thing, another warning. I saw people over the last few years during COVID who got into crypto or some different investments, and they were making easy money. Like their money was making them money. And because of that, they got really loose.
Yep.
They got really lazy. They were living the high life and they neglected their cash cow, to the point where their cash cow was left in a field with no grass left, and it was eating its own shit piles. And the cow either got sick, or sometimes some of them, I even saw their cow die. So, the warning is, when you start building your wealth and you start doing what we're talking about here, don't let it go to your head. Don't let it mess up your motivation. Don't let it hijack your work ethic.
Yeah.
When I started making money and I started putting money into my investments, and I saw my investments growing and I saw my wealth building, I got more motivated and more focused, not less.
Right.
And again, that's not normal. Most people, when they have a lot of money, they get lazier. That's just human nature. You have to learn how to be a freak of nature. Learn how to be a freak of nature.
You guys see why I have this freak of nature on the show today? So I told Brian, I'm like, man, I've been trying to hunt you down and get you on, because this is the value and the wisdom that he shares in his book whenever he trains. And it's a unique perspective because, like he said, he's he doesn't need to work. He doesn't need to do anything, but he has a love for what he does. He has a passion for it. People actually, someone just asked me, like, how are you always so fired up and excited? It's because I love what I do. Like, I genuinely, why does like a Tom Brady, do you think Tom Brady was throwing footballs around because he needed the money? No, it's because the dude's like, I don't want to do anything else. I want to stay on the field, play the game forever. The good news is in business is you can literally keep playing the game forever, especially when you know you can help other people. You can impact other people in the biggest way possible inside this profession. But when you have the vision and you know where you're going and you know why you're showing up every day and you're building that wealth on the side, man, it's just so exciting to see the results come to fruition, the dreams come to fruition, buying the beach house, or putting your kids in private school, or retiring your parents, retiring your spouse, firing your boss, whatever that looks like. But then you create new goals, new dreams, new aspirations. So anyway, yeah, freak of nature. I love it. You got to be unicorn. Y'all drop some unicorns in the comments. Anything else, Brian? Anything else you would share? Anything else you would advise these people to do to go out and start building that wealth?
Well, I mean, just be aware of what's going on. I believe here we are. Somebody might see this later on as a recording, but looking forward from November of 2023, in the next 12 to 24 months, I believe things are going to get worse. There are more shoes that still have to drop.
Yep.
The U.S. government raised interest rates dramatically in order to curb inflation. They had to figure out inflation.
Yeah.
They figured the best way to do it is to raise interest rates so that money was less plentiful, less easy to get. Employers that are in leases, those leases are coming due. They got to sign new leases at higher rates, or they got debt on their company that is coming due, and that debt might have gone from 2% to 8%. And because they can't afford it, there's going to be a lot of BKs, a lot of bankruptcies are going to be happening corporately.
Yep.
Which means people are going to lose their jobs.
Layoffs, yep.
Yep. And the government, frankly, they've said it. They want unemployment to rise. They need the economy to get harder so that people spend less money. The only way you get rid of inflation is get people to spend less. And if they have less, they'll spend less. So the government is trying to hurt folks. I think that there's a bigger divide right now. The middle class is going away even more than it ever has. There's going to be more upper class and more lower class, and less middle class. So with the financial tsunami that's coming, I believe it always gets darkest right before the dawn.
Yeah.
It's not as dark as it's going to get yet. I think it will get there in the next year or so. So buckle in, buckle in, spend less, earn more. Put dry powder on the sidelines, meaning have cash stacked on the sidelines. So when the dawn comes and the clouds part and the sun starts to shine again, then you'll see opportunities for entry points that are going to be very attractive on stocks or on real estate or what have you. So I would absolutely say now is the best time to get after it. And in a general sense, outside of this conversation of making money, let's talk about one more concept of building a business.
Yes.
When I got out of college and I went right into real estate, as a young guy, 22 years old, my friends, when the holidays came, my friends were always, hey, where are we going to go out tonight? Let's go drink here. Let's go drink there. And in general, most people during the holidays, they slow down, they drink eggnog and chill.
Yeah.
And what my dad taught me, he said, Brian, when other real estate agents are taking their eyes off the ball, that's when you can go grab the ball because they're not even looking at it. So I worked hard during the holidays and I set a listing appointments as much as I could during the holidays so I could get their commitment signed for when the new year came and they're ready to put their house on the market. And so I became rookie of the year at age 21, 22 for my county in Montgomery County, Maryland. Who's rookie of the year at that age with contacts that are not even buying houses yet? Because I was willing to go work when other people were taking their eye off the ball.
Right.
So I would say the same thing for all of you guys that are building businesses. When other people get slower, speed up.
Yes.
You can create so much momentum.
So you mean now that things are harder, they shouldn't just curl into a little ball in the corner and feel sorry for themselves and work less?
Well, they can. That's what they've already been doing. That's no, but yeah, I mean,
It's time to step it up. Bottom line, it's time to get serious.
go into the new year with momentum.
Yes.
And that way, when everybody else is turning their engines on and waiting for their windshields to defrost so they can actually start driving, you're already in the fast lane on the highway already. They're already left in the dust.
I love it. How many personal recruits do you have this month so far?
This month I only have one.
Oh,
the month ain't over. Normally, I will pull it together. And to speak to that real quick as well, we can go on.
Because I want to be clear, you've been with the same company 25 years, and you're still one of the top recruiters, if not the top, right? I mean, you're still doing the deal.
Yeah. In my first 10 years, I recruited on average 10 people a month for 10 straight years, and then it got to a place where I was, doing like 5 a month. But look, I want to make this, I want to make sure people understand why I do what I do. If everybody looks at me and says, my gosh, you still have to be working hard after 25 years, then there is no light at the end of the tunnel. Network marketing is no better than any other business if he has to keep on working after all that time. I only do it because I love doing it. I only do it because I feel a sense of purpose working with other people and helping them to do what I did.
Yeah.
I don't do it because I don't recruit a new person today because I need a couple $100. I don't do it because I need another person I need to spend time with. I do it because, number one, the people if I'm the leader and they're following me, I want to say, do as I'm doing, not as I am telling you what I did 20 years ago. Yeah. So, people would rather watch a leader than to listen to one any day. Mm-hmm. So that's very important for me to be a great example. My exampleship is everything. Yeah. So right now I'm the top recruiter for 2023 for my company.
Nice.
At the beginning of the year, I decided I'm going to make sure that when people look at Brian, they're watching what I want them to emulate. Yeah. There's a lot of leaders that got off the elevator. They're in their Barco lounger all summer long in the pool, talking on their cell phone, telling everybody how excited they are. And then their people are telling everybody on their Barco loungers why they're excited. And everybody's just talking about how excited they are. But there's a whole bunch of chiefs and no Indians going out and doing any work. You got to do that, right? So.
Well, and the truth is you don't have to recruit. You don't have to build teams. You could just sit back and collect a check. But it is inspiring when a leader is still in the trenches. I recruited 7 people this month. I recruited 5 people last month. I recruited like 9 or 10 the month before. So just like you, I mean, to me, it's like, why wouldn't I enroll people? Why wouldn't I? If I've got people that want to make money, they want to change their life, and I have a solution, why would I keep that a secret? When you're in your prime, like Brian is, like I am, why would we not? This is, it's funny, in the early years, I remember thinking, man, if I was like one of those top leaders, it must be so easy to recruit. And guess what? You're right. It is. You got to pay the price. You got to do the work, the internal work and the external work. Just like I interviewed Brandy Sonoto yesterday. That's what we talked about. Like the internal work, working on you, and the external work, like taking action, doing the ish that it takes to be successful. You got to have laser freaking focus, and you have to build a team if you want a long-term business. You can't just sell products or sell service or whatever that looks like. That's a job. Selling's cool, but it's just a job. Unless you get some duplication and you create some leaders within your organization, right? And one thing I'm always a little careful to say that too, because I don't like the whole developing leaders. You mentor leaders, but leaders develop themselves. So if you're like pouring into someone and nothing's happening, that's because they may not be the kind of person that wants to take ownership, that wants to take responsibility. You may not have a leader. You may have a fishing pole, but you don't have a fisherman. So the key to success is to identify those leaders. And if you say, I don't have a lot of leaders, or I don't have any leaders, then it's time for you to go recruit some leaders. And it's easier to recruit leaders as you develop into one. You have to develop yourself and make that decision to have that CEO mentality. So anyway, Brian, I appreciate you, brother. This was extremely valuable. And I love that this was such a unique perspective on still network marketing conversation, but definitely a very much needed conversation around money and building wealth. So guys, this book right here, that's the link, mylifestyleacademy.com/money mindset, or you can just find it on Amazon or where else, Brian? Amazon.
I just got my guy to set this up while you were talking. So
awesome.
moneymindsetfreebook.com. moneymindsetfreebook.com.
What does it mean? So it's free?
I'm going to give it to people today for free. So you don't have to spend $14. And I'm going to cap it at 100 people. So I don't know how many people are watching right now, but moneymindsetfreebook.com. Grab it. You'll just pay the postage for it, and you'll get it shipped out to you right away. I want my
very generous, man. I appreciate that.
Hey, I wasn't planning on coming here to sell anything, so I figured I'd just ask them, hey, let's do something for your friends that can benefit from this. And here's what I would love, like Jim Rohn always said, to hear his name coming out of somebody's mouth on stage as they're getting recognized for some success. And that's what his legacy was all about. That's what mine is. I would love for John or Nadia to send me a message a year from now from somebody that you guys are friends with that says, my gosh, I was never getting anywhere, and now my net worth is 22 grand already. When you had Brian on there, it changed a lot of things for me. If I hear that, then giving away this book will be the best thing I ever did. So
I love it, man. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, good seeing you, man. Good hanging with you.
Absolutely. Get that shoulder better so we can play some pickleball.
You got it, bro.
All right, bro. See ya. Bye, everybody.